So this video is going to deal with the second build-up of the case we started in the previous video. This was the model that we started with, and unfortunately the model proved to be inaccurate and we had to do a re-impression. So we went through the first build-up phase again, which was the same as in the previous video, and this is going to be the second build-up. And you can see here we're starting off with reapplication of the enamels. I like to use a mixture of enamels on the face depending on the overall value and how the first firing goes. So we can use clear or semi-translucent, we can use coloured translucents like the CTs. I'm building mostly on the mesodistal ridges and then onto the incisal edge and down across the face. So I like to reset the width of the tooth, the height of the tooth with the incisal edge, and then build down towards the cervical margin. In most cases I'll use a mixture of these different powders, the blue pot, the black pot and the green pot, and can use different mixtures as required to lower the value of the grey translucent, for instance. And as the facial addition goes, I like to check for the incisal edge to make sure I've got the nice profile and correct volume, and then that may need addition. Again, just using a combination of different enamels, then checking again for the incisal and the facial. When I'm happy with that, I can make an addition of the halo. So I'll normally use a dentine powder mixed with a bright enamel, and this will give a nice halo effect. Then once the facial is finished, I can move on to make the additions to the platel. So on the platel surface, I'm going to make up the contacts first. I normally find the contacts are more towards on the platel surface than the buccal surface. So first distally and then mesially, and now moving on to create the incisal wear facet by adding porcelain along the platel incisal edge, trying to see this nicely in line with the corresponding tooth in the opposite quadrant, and obviously trying to add a little bit more powder so I have a little bit of extra volume to grind. And that's about ready to take out the model and add the additions onto the contacts. Again, I'm just using the translucent powders, creating a little bit of an extra contact down towards the cervical margin, so I can keep a nice high contact, working towards the Tano theory. Then after the firing, I'm going to grind in my contacts. I like to grind the contacts first. Nice pin model, so I can remove one half, create the mesal contact first, so the paper just pulls free. You can feel a little bit of a hole, but it just pulls free, not too tight. Put the other half of the model back in and then create a nice accurate distal contact as well. And that will always be the first stage when I'm doing the grinding. Then I just grind over the face to create a nice dusty, what I call a dusty finish. I find a nice even dusty finish gives me a good visualization of the shape. Very early I cut the incisal wear facet because I like to use this as the major reference as to where the facial and platel surfaces are going to go. Now I'm going to just grind in the platel concavity, and you can see there how strong the platel incisal edge is. So I'm creating an incisal wear facet that is of equal width to the tooth on the neighbouring quadrant. And when those adjustments are done, I'm going to check the contacts, make the reductions or additions, grinding away there, and I shall keep amending that until I'm happy that I've got nice contacts. The tooth is just slightly out of centric, and then I'll check the lateral protrusive movements to make sure the incisal wear facet is well positioned. is just catching the lower teeth, just very slightly intrusive movements. Texturing I like to do under a microscope, and you can see here very fine texture on the surface and this palatal concavity incisal edge. And then the final stage is to amend the margin, the porcelain margin. Just paint a little bit of separator on there, put some inside powder on straight onto the margin just to wet the margin, and then apply that back to the die. A little bit of extra porcelain to make sure the margin is properly sealed, and then that'll be dried carefully and taken off, removed from the die. And then just a little bit of glazing, a little bit of glazed liquid and a little bit of stain. Then after the glaze firing, I do a polishing process where I use 3 or 4 different rubber wheels. I find this gives a much more convincing glaze finish. A little bit of diamond polishing paste as well to finish off, and that's the crown done. And these are some stills, palatal surface. This is the contact area up towards the cervical region. Nice closed margin, high polish. Unfortunately the patient didn't come back for photographs after the crown was fitted, but that one finished off quite nicely. I hope you enjoyed that video.